The cloud. All right, fantastic. Thank you for being here. Stacy Savage is here from Zero Waste Strategies and owner of Zero Waste Strategies to provide our training today. Very excited about that. I want to get right into the introduction and let her take the lead, and I'll get out of the way. First, I want to thank our sponsors. We have the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, as well as the Smithville Public Library and the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce. Due to their sponsorship and participation, this is brought to you and available to you. And of course, the recording will be available on the website, as well as the Chamber YouTube channel and the Library and Chamber Facebook pages. With that, let me introduce Stacy, and then we'll let her share her wealth of knowledge. Stacy was born and raised in the Beaumont, Port Arthur area of Southeast Texas, where her parents worked at oil refineries for a collective 75 years. Personal experience with air pollution and cancers in her family guided her professional career path to empower others to protect the planet. Thank you for that. Mrs. Savage has been a Texas, I love this, waste nerd for 17 years, starting in 2003 as a grassroots door-to-door community organizer, talking local landfill expansion issues in Austin. She played a pivotal role in passing 2 key pieces of statewide legislation for the free and responsible recycling of toxic electronics, known as the 2007 Texas Computer Take-Back Law and the 2011 Texas Take-Back Law, the 2011 Texas TV Take-Back Law. As a co-founder and former chair of the Austin Zero Waste Alliance, she helped pass Austin's Universal Recycling Ordinance, which requires business recycling and food waste diversion, as well as Austin's Single-Use Bag Ordinance, Construction and Demolition Debris Recycling Ordinance, and Curbside Compost Collection Ordinance. Can I just say thank you very much for all that? From 2015 to 2017, Mrs. Savage served as a city council appointee on the Austin Zero Waste Advisory Commission, and her peers on this commission elected her as their representative on the Joint Sustainability Committee, allowing her to provide a deeper level of service to the community. In 2013, Mrs. Savage founded Zero Waste Strategies, which is an environmental consulting firm specializing in business waste reduction to drive increased revenue, deeper customer loyalty, employment empowerment, and a green marketing edge. Her client list includes Nestle, Purina, Kohler, Dell Technologies, AT&T, and the City of Austin. Mrs. Savage has lived in the Austin area for the past 20 years and has recently moved 30 miles east to the Pine Forest area of Bastrop with her husband, John, and their fur baby, Willie the Pit Bull Rescue. Fantastic, I love that. Thank you for being here again. I'm going to mute myself and hide the screen. And of course, I will remind anyone listening that we will have a question and answer, and not to forget to use the chat if you prefer. Thank you, Ms. Savage.
Absolutely, thank you. And we just got a rescue kitten too. So now we have expanded our family a little bit. More fur babies. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. If you could allow me to share my screen, I can pull up my PowerPoint here. See if that'll work. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so again, I'm Stacy Savage. I'm founder and CEO of Zero Waste Strategies. We're an environmental consulting firm, and we specialize in zero waste and circular economy protocols. We work to help businesses reduce waste for increased revenue, deeper customer loyalty, employee empowerment, and to drive a green marketing edge. So let's go ahead and get going here. So today we're going to talk about employee engagement for zero waste, green success at home and the office. So again, this is part of my client list. We'll have to put Dell in there too. I need to update this, but Dell is also a client. So we work with nonprofits, we work with municipal governments, as well as businesses, large and small. So this is a zero waste overview. And we're just going to go over some zero waste basics so that we're all on the same page. So exactly what is zero waste? It is a business operation concept, and it's globally defined as 90% or more waste reduction from landfills and incinerators by 2040 or even sooner. So you can see here a list of government ordinances all across Texas, Fort Collins in Colorado, New York, corporate commitments, Dell, Sierra Nevada, Adidas, the shoe company, school campuses. I've got Harvard starred there for a special reason that we'll get into a little bit later in the presentation. And the school campus, these are really student driven, which I think is phenomenal. They're really going to their administrative boards and they're stating, hey, we need these programs in place. And so they're really driving the green talk on campus. You'll also see nonprofits and even conferences as we're coming out of COVID and we're getting our vaccines and people know the safety precautions. Conferences are starting to reopen and bring people in. So these are some conferences that you'll see here that have committed to waste diversion as well. So just some key terms. What is diversion? This is actually a reduction or reuse of materials into new products or services instead of it going to the dump or being burned off in an incinerator. Zero waste, we just went over this. It's just a program. Just remember 90% by 2040 or better. That's just main key things to remember there. And then organic material, we'll be talking about this a little bit. Oops, I lost my screen. There we go. That's anything that really grows from the ground, which would be like plants, or something that came from something else that grew, like meat. And then organics composting, that's really a more natural process that breaks down the organic materials into a dark soil-like material that we call compost. And this is what we use for soil amendments and bringing the nutrition in the soil back to a healthy standard. So next, why is zero waste important? Now, we've all heard of the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, but this is more along the lines of what goes in between reduce and reuse before we get to recycle. There's all kinds of other R's in there. So we talk about refusal of materials. We talk about reduction and reuse, of course, but repair, remanufacturing, refabrication, resoiling, that compost we talked about, upcycling, donation of materials that still retain their value, and recycling and organics composting is the last resort there. So we really want to look at what's called the wasteberg and imagine the tip of the iceberg and below it is the vast majority. So what you don't see under the water is really where the mass of the ice is. So kind of the same thing with waste. For every pound of waste that we put out at the curb, there are 71 pounds of waste produced upstream to make those products that we landfill. Food waste actually makes up about 40% of the landfill stream. Here in Austin, they did a study back in 2015 and found that food waste is at 37% of the waste stream. So City of Austin is right in that 30 to 40% category there. So that's on the upper end, and most cities will fit right in there. So why is zero waste important? You know, we've all heard of the 3 Ps, people, planet, profit, but I really like to take it a couple of steps further. There needs to be purpose behind what you're doing as a company. So this is how you get employees to buy in. So helping lead with a purpose around your sustainability programs. And then the final P for me is policy. Businesses really need to be involved in the policy making that will drive your corporate sustainability programs. So this also, zero waste creates jobs. I'll get into that a little bit more with the next slide. It saves businesses money. Like we said, it's kind of the lowest hanging fruit of any operational efficiency. And we are talking about business efficiency here. It saves landfill space. All across the country, landfills are filling up, and we really need to save that space instead of these companies getting permits to dig deeper and deeper holes into the ground and just filling it up with materials. It's not sustainable, folks. And then obviously driving the green marketing edge. How can you do your green storytelling that will pull in your consumer base, your investors, your employees? So that's another great benefit of zero waste. So again, with the jobs, well-paying green jobs with dignity is something that will bring quality of life for all. So your trash, the person who pulls or picks up your trash at the curb or at your business, these are well-paying jobs, and they bring quality of life because they're removing those materials that we no longer need in our lives. But it is important to understand that just in the 10,000 tons of waste you'll see here on the graph, you can burn or bury that. It's only one job created. Now that same 10,000 tons of waste, you can create 4 jobs with the composting sector. You can create 10 jobs with the recycling sector. And reuse is really the champion here. You can create 75 to 250 jobs with that same 10,000 tons of waste. These are all EPA statistics. So we're going to do a little pop quiz here. We're going to test your recycling knowledge. You can either write out your answers on with pen and paper, or you can drop your answers into the chat box. So I'll give you a couple of seconds between each one before I reveal the answer. And some of them are tricky. So put your thinking caps on and buckle up. So cardboard food containers, can these be recycled? Answer is yes. You want to put them in the recycling. If you don't have access to recycling, then it's important that you go ahead and put that in the landfill trash. Next one, hand towels. What is the proper way to handle paper towels? So preferably in this order, your answer is organics. That's putting them into your compost bin. And then if you don't have access to compost, you'll want to landfill them. They don't belong in recycling because the fibers are just too short. They've already been upcycled into that product from longer threads of fibers of the paper. And so the paper fibers in paper towels are far too short to have any value to a recycling plant. So you'll want to compost them or landfill them in that order. So what about plastic checkout bags? How do we handle this? So the first thing we want to do, think of the hierarchy. We want to reuse it first as many times as possible. Recycling, there's a caveat here. Your single-use checkout bag does not go into the blue recycle bin at your curb or at your apartment complex or even at your business. So you'll want to check with local retailers like Target, Walmart, even local grocery stores might have a storefront location where you can bring your checkout bags back. And if you don't have access to any recycling programs, then once you're done reusing them, go ahead and landfill trash them. Next up, shower containers. What do we think, folks? What are we going to do with these? Look pretty rigid, plastic-wise. We want to recycle those. So make sure that that they're getting into your recycle bin. If you don't have access to recycling, of course, landfill trash. Or you can reuse them, obviously, for other, just rinse them out real quick and fill them up with lotion or whatever. Maybe you've bought something in bulk and you can refill the cartons. So moving on, this is a quick pro tip. You can put a small recycling bin in your home bathrooms to collect those plastic containers and cardboard toilet paper rolls. So what are we going to do with clothing and textiles? This is a big one, part of our land stream or our materials stream going to landfill. A lot of tonnage is textiles, but we want to donate first in this order, and then we want to reuse. So everything that you can donate, and then if you've got, let's say, a t-shirt that has holes in it, maybe you can cut it up and use it as a dish rag or a dusting cloth or something along those lines. Maybe bring it out into the garage with you and use it as a shop towel. So what about chip bags and candy wrappers? What do we think, folks? So unfortunately, these have to go to landfill trash. Mostly your chip bags are made out of a product called Mylar. It's a film plastic, but it's got that metallic shine to it. And recyclers just can't take this material. So it does need to go into the landfill trash. Same with candy wrappers. What about batteries? This is a big one. There's some special treatment with batteries. So you don't want to put it in the recycling bin. You don't want to put it in your trash bin either. These things are toxic and they have corrosive material inside that you don't want them breaking down into a landfill, and they can't be processed by your normal recycling plants. So we'll bring it to your local household hazardous waste facility or one nearby. If your city doesn't have one, maybe your county does. Look for retail locations in your area. Target, Walmart, Best Buy will usually take these types of batteries back. And then you can do return programs to companies like that sell batteries, like Batteries Plus and Bolt's retail locations. At least here in the Austin area, there's a link here for battery drop-off locations. And I know that the City of Austin library branch locations will go ahead and collect those as well for you. Now here's a trick question. We've got a greasy pizza box. What the heck do we do with this thing? Moving on to the answer. In this order, if you can. So you'll want to tear off the top portion of the box. That's cardboard. Fold it up, put it in your recycle bin. If you have a composting program on site at your facility or even at your home, you can compost the greasy bottom part of the paper liner of the pizza box. And then if you don't have access to either, go ahead and landfill those. So how can we be zero waste at work? This messaging is directly for executives and managers. So if you're in those roles, please pay attention. This is just for you. So for executives and managers, you can start a corporate pledge campaign that employees and customers can sign on to. It's a really kind of a feel-good type of thing, but that campaign also allows you to outline what steps you're taking. So you can see here in the graphic that just yesterday was World Refill Day, and that all over the UK is businesses and people, customers, making the pledge to refill their water bottles instead of, and using reusable containers instead of new containers of water, like your plastic water bottles, single-use water bottles. And so this is just something to think about, where you can take the pledge, you can find more resources, you can have folks tweet out their support or other platforms of social media. You can even help the businesses in the local area who will help your campaign. So maybe you've partnered with other businesses that like this group did here, where they're asking the businesses to put out signs, hey, we'll refill your bottles at this location. So it's kind of a cross-pollination of marketing. Now, remember whenever I talked about Harvard a little bit earlier regarding school campuses, gamifying trash, recycling, and composting programs is really important. Folks, we're talking about trash here. It ain't fun, it ain't sexy, it's going away somewhere and you don't have to really think about it, but when you can put a game around it, it really highlights the value of our discards rather than, having people perceiving that the discards that go to landfill have no value. They do have value. They have value on the market, the commodities market. So what Harvard is doing is garbage games. They do I think every semester they get folks together, put a huge pile of trash and materials in the middle of a basketball court, and then they break out in teams and they have people sorting this stuff properly. And there's prizes and points and all those kinds of things. So it's a really good way to get your employees engaged. Or if you do have like a campus facility, then you can get your students engaged here as well. So that's a great way to pull people in and get them empowered and educated, all while having a lot of fun. So next, this is straight from the City of Austin website. There's a recycling game that's several levels of toughness, I guess you could say, increasing levels of difficulty. Really great to start kids out, and you can increase the difficulty as your education grows. And it just allows you to, use your mouse, your cursor, to click on an item and then put it in the correct bin or facility, and you get points, and it's a really cool kind of thing. It's very fun, cute little music in the background. So it's a good way to help start kiddos on the track of recycling education, and to brush up on your own. So next, you'll see here, this is part of my team at Zero Waste Strategies. We worked with managers and staff at a downtown Austin bank building to perform a waste composition study. So you can see we were up to our elbows in our safety gear and had our tongs and our gloves and digging through all this material. And you can see the buckets back there. We have everything sorted, and that way we could gauge the flow of the materials using weights and cataloging all the percentages of trash, recycling, and organic, sorting everything out, and giving a report to the facility to let them know where they improved upon from the year previous and where they could still make improvements, and how to go about further engaging their employees so that their recycling rate goes up. And we have done this same bank building for 4 years in a row. They've increased every single year based on the reporting that we've given back to them. So this one is also for your managers and executives. This is really about, how are you shopping? How is your business procuring the materials and supplies that you need? So one thing to think about is, in your procurement department, do your vendor contracts have waste diversion or material restriction clauses? I know that several years ago, personally, I was the executive director of the big Austin Earth Day Festival, and we wrote specifically in our contracts with vendors, the food vendors and artists and entertainment and such, that you can't bring single-use plastics, can't bring your condiment packets. You had to do more of a bulk service, keep everything on ice, that type of thing. So we were able to write into the contract of what we did not want on the grounds of Earth Day Festival. Kind of defeats the purpose, if you will. And are you purchasing in bulk, and are you allowing for that cost efficiency? Another client that I worked with, they did not have a central purchasing department, and so everything was floor by floor. And they really did not get the best bang for their buck because they didn't pull their resources collectively. So that's one thing to think about. Also looking at your supply chain management, what's going on upstream and downstream in the supply lines. Are those materials that you're using for your products responsibly sourced? And do you have environmentally preferable purchasing practices used? EPPP, you can Google, that shows you what some of those environmentally preferable purchasing practices are. And your facilities departments, are your waste, recycling, and compost hauling contracts actually right-sized for your specific business needs? Nobody wants to pay to cart air. And so if your dumpsters are only halfway full, whenever the hauler company comes to pick up that dumpster, you're overpaying for services, or they're coming too frequently. So it really needs to be, how do I look at either reducing my frequency of pickup or reducing the capacity of the dumpsters on my facility property, or combine them for even more cost savings. And do you have any broken equipment hanging around? Does your corporate policy allow for repair over purchasing new? A previous client that I had in St. Louis had a major facility on site, and they would actually bring things like broken printers and broken office chairs that were missing a little caster wheel. I mean, little things like that, where they could put them back into action and not have to spend the money on new products. So you can see this statistic here on the left is very staggering. 84% of consumers prefer that businesses have responsible purchasing responsible products from businesses that can show that they are in fact being responsible with the way that they are operating and producing materials. So another way to be zero waste at work for our executives and managers is to really use color coding and either 2 or 3 bin systems and set that employee expectation to use them properly. So if you do have access to compost programs, it's good to go ahead and put that in your facility cafeteria, back of house. And if you feel comfortable and you know that your training program is on point and people are following it, go ahead and put it out to your employees. The blue recycle bins, most people are familiar with blue equaling recycling, and then either black or gray for your landfill trash. So that color coding is really important. But it's also important for those who may not be able to see color, that you have signs posted in a dual language format usually. So the standard is usually English and Spanish, but let's be honest, a milk jug in any language is a milk jug, right? Soda can in any language is a soda can. So if you pair the text on your signage with actual graphics of what is and is not acceptable in that particular bin, then you'll be able to cover all your bases there. And then obviously you want to set the corporate culture with your staff. Use motivational education through regular kind of eco meetings. You can partner these with safety meetings. Maybe you're going to drop some new information in your most recent newsletter that goes out to the employees, and then making sure that if you do throw events, you are mirroring the policy that you've got for your employees as well. Your events should also have these kinds of bins set up so people can be responsible for their materials. And this is just a little bit closer, kind of close up of signage, good examples of signage that you can use. I got these straight off the City of Austin website. And you can see here, dual language format. You've got Spanish, English and Spanish, and then you've got the graphics. Up top, it shows what can be placed in the blue bin. At the bottom, you've got the circle with the red line through it showing what cannot be placed in the bin. So this is a major tech company here in Central Texas. This is their cafeteria, employee cafeteria. You can see here on the left that they've got their proper waste station aligned with the City of Austin's recycling ordinance. So they've got your landfill trash, and then you've got your recycling, and then the last 3, since we're dealing with a lot of food waste, they've increased their capacity because it's a cafeteria. And you can see the signage there, they've got the graphics, and a lot of times they'll have people there guiding, especially newer folks, on how to properly sort. You can see on the right here, this is what their employees pull from whenever they do go to eat. These are compostable straws in paper wrapping, and then also compostable cutlery. So what are some good benefits for the company in order to impact your cost reduction, recruitment and retention, customer loyalty, and green storytelling? These are all major company benefits that can go to bat for you as a business. They can back you up with your sustainability program. So these are some benefits that you'll discover. So as you'll see on the left here, we talk about cost savings, really attracting and retaining the best talent in your industry, and then strengthening your own brand and increasing your market share. Why do we want to see cost savings? Well, that's pretty obvious, but you know, you look down at the bottom, waste reduction is the lowest hanging fruit of any operational efficiency, just like water, just like energy conservation, even building retrofits. Reducing your waste is a cost saving activity. Now, attracting and retaining your best talent, boosting your employee morale, whenever you're using this kind of empowering platform, really just bolsters the teamwork among your staff, and you really have your staff bragging to their friends and family how proud they are to work for your company, because you're going above and beyond and you're helping them be responsible with their materials because you have successful programs in place. And then you'll want to make sure to, whenever you're doing your green storytelling and strengthening your market brand, your market share, you're going to want to remember to align with the social justice values and the $46 billion in purchasing power that are brought to industries by millennials and Zoomers. They don't want to be called Gen Z, by the way. That's the last letter in the alphabet, and they are committed to not being the last generation. So we call them Zoomers. And then figure 2 here on the right, you know, your green team trends help you focus on internal operations, reduce your footprint at home so you can bring these values and these activities that you do at work back to your own home to reduce your waste. And then helping bring customers into the equation. Are they signing the pledge that we talked about? Are they tweeting it out and putting it on their other social media platforms? Are they kind of giving you the spotlight as a company because you're doing right by your materials and you're marketing that? And how is it linking to your corporate sustainability goals as well? More company benefits. The U.S. Green Building Council certifies businesses and facilities taking strong measures on water and energy conservation. And recently, I think back in 2016, 2017, they have actually folded zero waste protocols into its LEED certification program for platinum, gold, silver. So you can gain more points if you have a zero waste program that can be coupled with your water and energy conservation programs as well. And that's something that you can market for sure. So this is messaging specifically for employees. So in order to really get the corporate culture working in tandem with the sustainability that you've put, you know, on your website or in black and white in the personnel handbook, helping employees start a green team that supervisors can really get behind is very important for engaging employees in your sustainability programs. And so for employees, how to start a green team, it's fairly simple, but it does take some organizing and talking to the right people, maybe on your floor or in your team. So you definitely want to get senior management involved. But you don't want to lose that energy of grassroots organizing, pulling your peers together at the grassroots and pushing the issue up to the top brass. Also, engage with those employees to capture ideas. What do you want to work on? What do you want to see be more green in among your operation? Communicate and share best practices. Maybe you talk to somebody else in your community who's on the green team for another company. Maybe you'll just kind of pick their brain a little bit for ideas. But best practices and just Googling best practices around green teams and communication is a great place to start. Obviously engaging employees in their personal lives and seeing if they're using these programs that they have at work for waste reduction and waste diversion at their own homes, or maybe they're doing other things like they do thrift shopping instead of going to to the mall. So see where they're at in their personal lives and what actions they're already taking. Obviously, engaging your customers to be part of the solution is a really big piece of the puzzle there. So it really comes from your supervisors, CEOs, top C-suite level employees, your staff, that your management teams. It comes down to your consumer base, and then obviously your employees that are going to push everything because they're a united front on the issue. So it takes all kinds. And use art to raise awareness. There's a lot of businesses that will partner with artists to one thing that you can do around the topic of waste reduction even is to commission an artist that will use recycled materials to make some kind of mosaic or relief that's very highly textured and that you can hang maybe in the foyer of your big building whenever you walk in. So that helps to raise awareness and keeps it on the kind of front burner, the front of the mind topic for your employees and customers who walk into your business. You can have your employees create a green team toolkit and that shows other employees how to support the green team. And then align green teams with corporate sustainability goals. So whatever the green team is working on should be something that already supports what your business is already doing, or it could be an initiative just outside, maybe a one-off that could support a particular goal. So encourage that leadership, encourage ownership of these programs for your employee teams. So this graph looks a little similar to the one, or it's actually exactly the one that we used before when I was talking to executives and managers, but this one is actually a little bit messaged a little bit differently for employees. This will allow employees to know what to look for. So they'll want to look for color-coded 2 or 3 bin systems, and they need to commit to using them properly. If they have a question about what kind of material is in their hand, and if they don't see it on the sign, when in doubt, throw it out. You don't want to cross-contaminate the bins with improper materials ending up in the improper bin. So also look for those color-coded signs. Make sure that employees are aware that the signage is there. And that will tell you with the text and the graphics exactly what goes where so that you can reduce your own bin contamination. I worked with a previous client and they had a composting program that was not only available to their back of house staff, who all the chefs and the food prep folks that were diverting their food waste from the cafeteria food prep operation, but also had it available to their employees front facing in the hallways and near the restrooms and such. And they were getting charged $3,000 a month because of the contamination. So the composting company that came and pick up their bins would literally bring them back to their facility, pick through them, find contamination. They would mark it down and it was like $7.50 here, $8 here, and very, very small pieces of materials that were just composted incorrectly. It should not have been there in the first place. And so that's really important. If you're going to do something that's front facing to your employees that don't have a food permit or a food handler's permit, it's important to make sure that they understand how to compost correctly and what goes where. And then for employees, be aware of your own personal habits. What materials are you bringing into the facility, your building, that come from outside the cafeteria or from your home? What are you bringing into the workspace? Are you a Starbucks fan? Are you a fast food connoisseur? What are you bringing in from outside of the building or facility that could inhibit your ability to recycle and compost? So another way that employees can be a zero waste at work, I know a lot of people will do office takeout or delivery, and you can always refuse your common items like condiment packets, plastic cutlery, straws, salt and pepper packets, because those are things that you typically already have on hand at your office in the little dinette, kitchenette area. So you can use your reusable forks and knives and just wash them, your plates. And the same thing goes for home food orders as well. When my husband and I order food, we'll always put in the notes section, no condiment packets, no cutlery, no napkins, so that they can understand that we're refusing that material that they would normally put in there to lessen our own waste levels. And then obviously you can kind of BYOB, bring your own basics. Here on the right, you can see, most people will have their own water bottle, or, they'll put a salad in the mason jar, and they've got their bamboo cutlery here that you can just wash, a bag to put it all in, a cloth napkin. But this is a great branding opportunity as well for the businesses, because they can give out water bottles, coffee mugs, supply the kitchenettes with these materials at the office, so that people can just wash it out and reuse it. It's like I said, a great branding opportunity where you could just slap your logo on it and just promote your company from within. And then there are additional resources here where you can kind of learn at your own pace. Zero Waste International Alliance is the top dog in all things zero waste. So they're the ones that have actually built out the definitions and standards around zero waste. Obviously, we just talked about US Green Building Council. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation is all things circular economy. So just keep in mind, zero waste is just one cog in the big circular economy wheel. Five Gyres Institute talks about ocean plastics, and then the Story of Stuff Project are cute little short cartoon vignettes that are great for helping kids understand things like cap and trade and recycling and product obsolescence. So these are some great resources you can tap into and learn at your own pace. And so my final question to you is, if we're not for zero waste, how much waste are we for? And with that, I will leave my contact information here, and we'll open up to any Q&A.
Wow, Stacy, that was fantastic. My head is spinning with ideas we can use around the office and at home. Wow. I want to leave your contact information up for sure, but if you don't mind, I have a couple of questions for you.
Go for it.
So you may have, I think you spoke to this to a certain degree, but besides doing the right thing by recycling or reusing and reducing, are there any financial or tax incentives for businesses to be more aware and be more purposeful in how they're using their just things?
Well, I can point to specific tax reimbursements, especially for food permitted businesses. And you can donate food, prepared foods, or non-perishable items to local nonprofits that will do food redistribution in a safe, healthy way. And businesses can, throughout the year, weigh and catalog and date what they actually donated to whom, and they can just keep a spreadsheet. And that's something that they can turn in with their tax returns. It is the Good Samaritan, the Federal Good Samaritan Act. People can Google that to see where business liability is no longer a thing whenever you have donated food in good faith. So, businesses are protected, and that's one big myth that we need to kind of clear out of the way. People are very scared about the liability issue through that act. It's no longer the case. And so we encourage businesses to look into that, and you can receive, I believe, 15% fair market value back on your tax return as a corporate incentive for the food that you did donate. So that's why I'm saying keep a manifest, a log of what you have donated, when, how much, and to whom, and which organization.
Okay, fantastic.
That's just one case.
I beg your pardon?
That's just one case.
Oh, well, I have a feeling that we could probably keep you online here for a couple of hours, if not.
Yes, I could talk about this for another 4 hours. Don't get me started.
So I do have another one. This is yes, Judy adds here that our local recycling center does not take glass. We do have one down the road in another city in LaGrange. They take glass, and I know, not wanting to take too many trips there, I try to get with, and my neighbors, we try to kind of pool over months, and then one of us takes the glass over, and they crush it, and then people actually use it in their flower beds, their driveways. They also, apparently, the county in that area, that county uses it in some of their road base. So I'm impressed with that for sure. I did want to ask you on the consumer side, for the home user, I recognize the paper towels that you showed in your graphic with your discussion, your quiz that I did decent at, by the way. Not great, but decent. That I recognize those paper towels at work, but those are not the type of paper towels I use at home. So is that the same concept, or are they considered the same grade? It's just consumer grade versus business?
Yeah, typically the paper towels that you have at your house are bleached, and I wouldn't recommend, if it's the brown paper towel, at the office, that's something that you would consider composting, or even hand washing stations. Let's say, in the back of a house of a food operation, or even your corporate bathrooms. If you are putting out the brown paper towel, then and it goes to an industrial composting facility, you can put the brown paper towel and the bleached paper towel into the industrial facility bin. Those get very, very, very hot. It breaks down. If you're at home and you have a composting bin, I've got a little composter on the side yard, at my house, and we put all of our food waste in there from all of our meals. And but we don't put paper towels in there because they're bleached, and my compost on my side yard just doesn't get hot enough to break that type of material down. But your industrial facilities, for sure, you can put your paper towels in there, whether it's the natural fiber brown ones or even the white ones.
Well, thank you for the clarification, because I should have clued into that, because I've pretty much been trained to understand that if the paper good is brown, it has more of a tendency to be environmentally friendly as compared to the basic white.
And that goes back to your purchasing practices, right? So if you're purchasing something that can't be recycled, can't be composted, you have to think about where it's going to end up. So you don't want to, you don't want to pay for things twice, basically. So you don't want to pay for a box of tomatoes, bring them in, never use them, they spoil, and then you have to put them in the back, the dumpster. So you're paying for that twice. There's got to be the operational efficiency within your business structure, where you're going to make sure to use everything that you've purchased before it goes out the back end. So just being, maximizing your efficiency, optimizing every chance you can.
Absolutely, and I love this. And I am watching the chat. I know Judy is jumping in here and adding too, but it's really interesting how I've noticed over a few, 10, 15 years for myself, going into businesses such as the local coffee shop, that it's beneficial to them when they allow us to bring in our reusable coffee mugs, which is, the tumblers and all, which is really nice, because I think about it every time I go to buy something. I have to throw this away. It doesn't recycle, So I've been trained well here in Smithville and Bastrop County, because they're big on the household hazardous waste collection days, the recycling of the electronic days. I think you would be very happy with what the city of Smithville and the chamber do, supporting that. So I do have one final thing for you that I wanted to ask. I was curious about the exercise that you showed with the bank. what I took from that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, your company actually goes in and helps them on a particular day. They literally, as an exercise, take their trash and then they go through it and see what all they're wasting and what they could have done differently. So it was in the trash, but it should have been composted or it should have been recycled. And so that same group, if not new employees, goes back the next year. They do the same exercise, and then you're getting comparative data. And so in the end, you're not only doing the helping the company establish the good practices, purposeful practices, but they're also seeing a reduction in the cost of products for purchasing as well as the disposal cost.
Right. They're seeing their recycling rates go up.
Mhm.
And they're adjusting their contracts with their haulers. As their recycling rates go up, you bring down the capacity or weekly frequency of pickup in your landfill trash. You might even have to increase your recycling pickup or even the dumpster size, but making sure that you have fluidity in your contract language to where you can make those renegotiations because you need to change your bin capacity or your frequency of pickup is going to be really important. And then you're revisiting that on a yearly basis, maybe even, twice a year, so that you can make sure that you're getting the most bang for buck.
Well, I will say that was very interesting to me, and I see a lot of commitment. And when you're reaching to us, trying to get us to understand and everyone to understand that it impacts people when they make a decision on a company to work with. And I definitely want to know the name of that bank. You don't have to tell us here, but it's like, that is a bank in Austin. It better be my bank. It's like, I would be proud of my bank to know if they were doing that.
And that's where the green storytelling comes in,
yes,
right? That's another piece of it. You market that out to
absolutely.
your customers and get new customers who really care about those types of issues.
And that can almost be some free marketing, especially when you get into the socials. But this is such been an empowering hour with you learning, and I can definitely
Power hour.
amen, right? And I can definitely see why you were recruited to come and join us for these. And I can't wait for the next ones that you are going to present. I do know that our hour is coming to a close,
Yes.
and I definitely appreciate Stacy Savage with Zero Waste Strategies coming in and sharing your vast knowledge, and look forward to your next training, a part of this series. So thank you so much. And I'm already, my wheels are spinning on how we can do things differently in multiple areas. So
And I have attained my goal. Education and getting people to think a little differently about the materials they produce every day is really what we're driving. That drives the heart of it all.
yes, well, you are definitely, I love at the beginning where you talked about the 3 Ps and then you added purpose and policy. And to me, anything in life, if it doesn't have purpose, why are you doing it? So to bring this in to impact not just yourself, but so many others is so amazing. Again, thank you, Stacy Savage, for being here, and everyone else that gets to watch this in the recording and all the locations that we're going to place it. You have just listened to a very powerful and purposeful training that it should change your thought process and practices.
Hopefully.
So thank you.
You got to all work together to make it happen.
Definitely.